Greetings, people. It's Mr. Pooh, the trigger, yet again on another episode of the Enlightenment series. So, on this chapter, funny enough, the reason why I'm actually doing this chapter is because I was motivated by one commissioner of police from Nigeria who reached out to me, and then he said I should not mention his name, but he's so proud of what I'm doing. He endorses what I'm doing. And he encouraged me to keep calling out these commissioners, Mr. Muhammad Inua and Mr. Muhammad Ali. He told me that this is the only way that corruption can stop. And he told me that he has power there. But his power has a limit. He can't operate out of his jurisdiction. But he told me that my message is getting to the right offices. And so much is being done about this case of baby testimony. So to those of you who have been celebrating, prophets, come to Nigeria, do this. If you're serious, come to court, come and do this. I don't have to. I have very long arms and strong pillars of support that can do this without me being there present in Nigeria. My voice is loud enough to command action in the nation of Nigeria and to put to order broken systems and to make sure that the unjust are put to where they belong and the just will be fought for. Humanity will be preserved. The vulnerable will be fought for. And baby testimony will be liberated. The reason why I'm calling out these two respective commissioners, first of all, Mr. Muhammad Inua. If there's someone who knows Mr. Muhammad Inua, I know he's watching. Please tag him below. That is if he has any digital platform. Or just tag some of his seniors or his juniors or anyone that looks up to him, so that they can know the nature of a man that he is. Any man that chooses friendship over justice is not worth anyone's respect. Any law enforcement officer who compromises on duty is not worth anyone's respect. These gentlemen have disrespected, dishonored the badge of the law enforcement in Nigeria, of the offices that they are in. To be called a commissioner, you must be a man of integrity. You must be a man of honor, a man of high principles. But when you handle a case of this nature, a case of a missing child, with favor to the oppressor, then why should you be called a commissioner? These two commissioners have to lose their badges. Muhammad Inua and Muhammad Ali. Both of them, they do not deserve to be occupying the offices that they are occupying today. And I'll give you the reasons why they should be stripped off the ranks that they have. They have disrespected that office and they have dishonored it. The reason why I call them out like this, the reason why I call for their immediate dismissal is because of the way that they handled the case of a missing child without doing any investigation. They did not do any investigation. If they did an investigation, the report of their investigation would have been submitted to court. They just listened to Jeremiah Omoto's side of the story. And they probably sat on a round table with Jeremiah Omoto for fame. And they agreed, not just Jeremiah Omoto for fame, and Jeremiah Omoto's legal team. I am of the highest belief that those 10 count charges that they are imposing or that they are charging Ruth with were drafted by Jeremiah Omoto's legal team. And they were just transferred to the commissioner of police to take over the case. And the reason why they wanted the commissioner of police to be in charge of the case or to be the one in court against Ruth Mathew is because they want to scare off other victims out there. That whenever anyone wants to rise up to accuse or to report Jeremiah Omoto for fame, ask the police force, ask the commissioners of police will come for you. That's the message that they're trying to send to the community. Not just the community, but especially to the victims. Because there are so many victims of Jeremiah Omoto for fame. This I can attest to. Because I have dealt with so many of them. And they are all afraid to confront Jeremiah Omoto or to report Jeremiah Omoto for fame. Because if they do, the commissioners will take it upon themselves to turn the tables around and start prosecuting the complainants. It so happened recently there was a case of Kasi Chuku. Was he not moved from pillar to post by Jeremiah Omoto's bogus police, by Jeremiah Omoto's bogus Interpol personnel, to a point whereby he had to go and apologize to Jeremiah Omoto over one charge count, which was splitted into 11 counts. So to Mr. Muhammad Inua, the first commissioner that handled this case of Ruth Mathew, the question that I have for you, the big question that I have for you, it's not one, it's just two. How did you successfully manage? Okay, this is going to be a detriment on your side if you just took papers that you received from Jeremiah Omoto's legal team without you cross-examining those papers or without you trying to make sense of those papers or those charges. Because that's what happened. I cannot believe that the commissioner of police can have the power to rule over a case. Because what the commissioner of police did, what Mr. Muhammad Inua did, was to rule over the case between Jeremiah Omoto and Ruth Mathew. What they did was to conclude, was to reach a verdict. That's why on all the 11 counts that are being laid on Ruth Mathew, it's just a list of judgments, of conclusions, of verdicts. They are not even charges, they are verdicts. And since when did the commission of police or did the police have the legal authority to act as judges on behalf of judges? If you check the counts, they are all saying that you are found guilty. They already declared Ruth Mathew guilty before she appeared in court. On all the 11 counts, they are saying for this allegation, for this crime that you committed, or falsely accusing Jeremiah Omoto for fame, you committed a crime under the section ... the criminal code, whatnot and whatnot. They were all verdicts. And the funny part about it, the funniest part about it, it's only one charge that was broken down into 11 charges, into 11 counts. Which is the first question that I have for Mr. Muhammad Inua. How did you break one charge of defamation of character against Jeremiah Omoto for fame? This is a civil matter. This is not a criminal matter of defaming someone's character. This is a matter that requires Jeremiah Omoto's lawyers to be the ones suing Ruth Mathew and demanding damages from Ruth Mathew if they can prove that their client Jeremiah Omoto for fame was defamed, his character was defamed, or his character was assassinated. It's not the duty of the commissioner of police to be the ones taking the role of Jeremiah Omoto's lawyers and taking the defendant or the claimant to court for falsely accusing a civilian. That is not the mandate of the commissioners of police's office. Let me educate them in case they did not know. But when there's a brown envelope that gets to be slided under the table, anything is possible, anything can happen. So the first question that I have for him, how did he manage on the legal document? Because on the legal document, it's saying that it's the commissioner of police versus Ruth Mathew. And there are 11 counts, 11 charges on that document. My question is, How did he manage to break down one charge? Because it's just one charge that was repeated 11 times. They just had to include different people on the charges, but the charge is one. And the charge is defaming and falsely accusing Jeremiah Omoto for feigning in Misuse. That's just the one charge. But they had to include so many other people on that one charge so that there can be 11 charges. That's the first question that I have for him. How did he manage to break down one charge into 11? And the second, which has been my ask for a very long time, or for the past 7 or 9 episodes that I've done, the investigation that you did that gave you the conclusion of saying Ruth Mathew was falsely accusing Jeremiah Omoto, what does it contain? Where is the investigation report, Mr. Muhammad Inua? Where is the investigation report of how baby testimony was abducted, or for how baby testimony went missing at Misuse? Where are the contents of that report? Where is your report? If you indeed did your job, or if you carried out an investigation. Where are the details of the CCTV footage? If you indeed carried out the investigation, where are the details of the CCTV footage? Where are the contents of the CCTV surveillance from the 15th of April 2019? Where are the contents of this CCTV surveillance, which was covering the area where Ruth Mathew and baby testimony were, and which was covering the entrance to Misuse? Where are the contents of those surveillances? Do you have them? Do you have them in your report that you did not submit to court? Where is the report which shows that Emmanuel Marcus is innocent of the allegations that Ruth Mathew made against him, before you turned Emmanuel Marcus into a complainant, into a witness against Ruth Mathew? Where are the contents of that investigation which proves that Ruth Mathew falsely accused Emmanuel Marcus? Because Ruth Mathew said Emmanuel Marcus stole her mobile phone. Emmanuel Marcus stole a bank card and withdrew 70,000 naira from that bank card. 70,000 naira, which she wanted to do a publication to raise awareness about her missing child. Where are the contents of that investigation report to prove that Ruth Mathew was falsely accusing Emmanuel Marcus? Because on the charges, Emmanuel Marcus's charge, it has nothing to do with these allegations that were made direct to him. You covered those ones. You did not even mention those ones. You only mentioned that Ruth Mathew, you even lied, Mr. Commissioner, that Ruth Mathew said that Emmanuel Marcus stole baby testimony, of which she never said Emmanuel Marcus stole baby testimony. She only explained the role that Emmanuel Marcus played to delay baby testimony's justice, to obstruct baby testimony's justice. But she never said Emmanuel Marcus stole baby testimony. Mr. Commissioner, you are on record lying, misrepresenting information. But then I still ask you again on the issue of Emmanuel Marcus. Did you investigate Emmanuel Marcus on the allegations that Sister Ruth Mathew made against him of having stolen the bank card and withdrew cash from her bank card and the phone that he stole from Ruth Mathew? Did you follow up with the bank to find out from the CCTV machines, from the ATM machines, to establish those facts? That did Emmanuel Marcus really withdraw money from Ruth Mathew's account? Did you do a follow-up and realize that from the bank footages or from the ATM CCTV surveillances, there is no record of such? Did you do that? You did not, Mr. Commissioner, because if you did, you were going to find Emmanuel Marcus withdrawing money from Ruth Mathew's account. Did you cross-examine Emmanuel Marcus to establish that did he really steal Ruth Mathew's phone or he didn't? You did not do all that, Mr. Commissioner. So how did you come to the conclusion, and how did Emmanuel Marcus ended up being a complainant, laying a charge? How did Emmanuel Marcus's testimony or whatever ended up being a count on the list of charges that, Mr. Commissioner, you have against Ruth Mathew? How did it happen? Did you cross-examine Juliet Mathew based on the testimony that Ruth Mathew gave you? Ruth Mathew never said Juliet Mathew stole baby testimony. She just explained in her statement the role that she played in facilitating this abduction syndicate. Did you cross-examine her? And the easiest way that you could have found out if Ruth Mathew was lying was to demand for the CCTV footage from Jeremiah Omoto for fame, so that you can see if there was any form of interaction between Ruth Mathew and Juliet, to see if there was any form of interaction between these two women that abducted baby testimony with Juliet. Those are the things we could have expected, or we are expecting, from your investigation report, which you are so reluctant to produce. And the reason you are reluctant to produce it is because you did not do the needful. You did not do your job, sir. Why am I even calling you, sir? You don't deserve that title. Mr. Inua, you did not do your job. It's either you did not do your job because you did not want to do your job, or you did not do your job because you compromised, because you received something to keep your mouth shut. That's the only thing that it can mean. What can be another justification for you not doing your job, for you not carrying out the investigation? What can be a justification for you taking a woman who came to report a case to court? What can be the justification of you turning the tables against the complainant? What can be a justification for that, other than you have been compromised? What can be your justification to that? And what could be the reason why you don't want to release the investigation report? What could be the reason of that? Why don't you want to produce the investigation report? Because you know it's going to expose you. But either way, you will be exposed. This is so uncalled for. One charge broken down into 11 counts by the Commissioner of Police. Yeah, we say by the Commissioner of Police because it's the one on record. The one charge that Ruth Mathew was being charged for is this one. As you can see here, this count one, this is the only charge against Ruth Mathew. But they broke this one charge into 11 charges. In this one charge, it reads that you, Ruth Mathew, sometime in the month of April 2019 at Christ Mercyland Deliverance Ministry, Ephraim, in the Ephraim Magisterial District, did falsely accuse one prophet, Jeremiah Omoto for fame, the owner of the said deliverance ministry, of being responsible for your missing child testimony Ayo, knowing same to be false, and thereby committed an offense punishable under Section 125 of the Criminal Code, CAPC 21, Volume 1, Law of Delta State, 2006. And the years imprisonment for this charge alone, it's 5 years. This was the only one charge against Ruth Mathew, because Ruth Mathew only accused Jeremiah Omoto of being the one who is withholding baby testimony. And that is not a crime. That is not defamation of character. If Jeremiah Omoto is not in possession of baby testimony, if he is not the one who knows where baby testimony is, he should just prove it by releasing the CCTV footage to exonerate himself. You cannot prove a case of defamation of character by prosecuting the person or by coming to a verdict without evidence that there was a character that was defamed, without you having investigated that this actually happened. How do you get to the verdict of an allegation without doing an investigation? If indeed there was defamation, then you should be able to prove it. And the only way you can prove it, Mr. Commissioner, is by compelling Jeremiah Omoto to release a CCTV footage, which will clearly show that baby testimony was not in Mercy City. Until you provide that CCTV footage, which shows that Ruth Mathew is the one that is responsible for the missing of baby testimony, then you do not have a case of defamation against Ruth Mathew. As long as baby testimony was abducted in Mercy City, Jeremiah Omoto is guilty in one way or the other. He is liable one way or the other. If he was really innocent, he could have proven it beyond no reasonable doubt that he has nothing to do with this. There are so many things he could have done to just prove his innocence. But he did none of those things, which is the reason why we are under the highest impression that Omoto Fofeng is the kingpin of this abduction syndicate. And this is not defamation of character. It's not defamation of character. He is bound by law to provide an explanation of how a child can go missing in his church premises. He's bound by law to give an account of how the child got missing in his premises. He's bound by law to comply with all the demands, to release every piece of information that can help with the investigation. We don't know the information that Jeremiah provided to the commissioner of police to assist them with the investigation, other than the sworn affidavit in which he was even lying. We do not know the pieces of information or evidence that Jeremiah gave to the commissioner of police that convinced the commissioner of police that Jeremiah Omoto his character is being defamed. We do not know the evidence that he gave to the commissioner of police. But if there was really evidence, they could have presented it in court. They could have brought it to the public. If there was really evidence that Ruth Mathew is blackmailing or Ruth Mathew is defaming Jeremiah Omoto's character, there's no evidence of that nature. So until Jeremiah can prove that he has nothing to do with the disappearance of baby testimony, he is liable. So this one count was broken down into 11 counts. If you go through all these other counts, you will realize that it's just centered on the first count of how Ruth Mathew defamed Jeremiah Omoto's character. So, Mr. Inua, how are you sleeping at night? Knowing that you threw away or you swept a case of a missing child under the carpet. To the law enforcement in Nigeria, this is my call to action to you. Please make sure something gets done with this commissioner. He does not deserve to be in office. Not to forget the new commissioner, Mr. Ali. He took over the case, and he's the one who has been presiding over the case. This whole year, he's the one in charge of it, which means it was just transfer of authority to the new commissioner. And I'm sure he was briefed that just continue with this case this way. That's why when Jeremiah held this function, he even invited the commissioner. And the commissioner, the new commissioner, in his remarks, he even said, Jeremiah Omoto is a good man. He knows how to keep friends around him. So can we trust these two gentlemen, these two offices, to bring us justice for the missing child? Of course we can't. All we can do is to call out to the law enforcement, to the Department of Police in Nigeria, to the police headquarters in Nigeria, to please dismiss these two men till further notice. They are not fit for the offices that they are occupying. They might have the credentials, but they do not have the principles. They do not have the character and the moral code to be conducting business in the offices that they are in. They are devoid of principle. They are devoid of justice. The people of Delta, the people of Nigeria are not safe in the hands of these two gentlemen. They can do anything to fight for their friendships or to win friends and throw away justice for the vulnerable. So we call upon the police department, the headquarters of police in Nigeria, please take them below, to take action with immediate effect towards these two commissioners, till further notice, until we know the role that they played or why they haven't done justice to baby testimony. With that being said, I'll check you out on the next episode of the Enlightenment series. It's Mr. Pull the Trigger. I'm out.